Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to our comic review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So every Tuesday, after our team is done bagging and boarding all the new comics, Andy and I will divide them up. We read them, and we do this video where we call it a spoiler light video, where we'll tell you about major first appearances, reasons that you might want the comic for collectability. But more than that, we're going to tell you what each of these books is about without ruining the fun of reading it for yourself. So it's going to be a lot more than if you just read the very small solicitation on these books. You'll know more about the plot, more about the people who are writing and drawing them, but it won't just be a play by play. So when you read it, you can have just as good a time as we did. So this week, pretty medium week, I would
hmm
say. Not a ton of books, but a few of them very noteworthy. You see, the first six we're going to do right here. We have many off to the side. We'll also be showing variants and incentives. I know there's at least a couple I'm really looking forward to getting to
Yeah.
myself. But why don't you start us, Andy?
Yeah. What's good about this week is there's some new indie number ones and things that I feel like uh, not a whole lot of knowledge about them out there. Uh, hard to tell by the name or just looking at it. And that's what my first one is Ghost Cage. So this is really exciting. I've put this as like my top pick to talk about because I enjoyed this so much. This is from Nick Dragotta, who was the artist on East of West.
Right.
He's worked with Jonathan Hickman a
Mm-hmm.
lot in the past, and it's co-written by him and Caleb Golner. And this is a wild book. So the best way to describe kind of the feeling of it is it's very anime manga inspired in the coolest way, the most just the look of things. So I thought about a lot about Akira when I read this. Some stuff like when I was describing it to you, you're like, "Oh, sounds kind of like Mega Man." And I was like, "Yes, there's a lot of Mega Man in this too." But what this is about is there is kind of a mad scientist, energy mogul who his name is Dr. Karloff, and he's been creating new forms of energy. Now, his forms of energy, for some reason, I don't know if it's I may need to reread it, but he likes to make them in kind of humanoid form.
Hmm.
So he lives in, or at least works in, a giant kind of power plant type thing that's massive, overshadows the city, and something has happened where his previous inventions have kind of gone off the rails, and he invents a new thing that he calls Sam to basically be the what do they describe it as, the like energy grim reaper. So this thing goes out there to consume all those other forms now that have kind of gone haywire. But this creature, Sam, is kind of childlike, smaller, um, not fully understanding its powers or its purpose. That is when they call in the tech support, like the IT guy, who is a big fan of this company. He's been working there a long time, really likes what they're doing, and he gets called up to the top office. Now, in a place like this, like that's a huge deal, and he gets the task of kind of servicing and maintaining Sam as it's going through and consuming all these other things. Now, a fun part about this is they start on level one and they're working their way up this tower. It's a very video game feeling thing, and when you get to a level, that level kind of has a theme. Like there's the one that is like coal powered, there's one that is hydro powered, and there is energy people creatures within those levels that kind of represent that. Super fun. This is an oversized issue. It's $5.99. I believe it's only 3 issues long from what I can remember. Um, but I had so much fun reading this. It's one of those, like, every page there's something big to take in, something really cool, some really cool design or idea about this world that they've created. Thoroughly enjoyed this. It comes with my highest recommendation. If you're a fan of manga, if you're a fan of Akira, if you're a fan of just really cool, inventive sci-fi, that is what this is. Um, the art is kind of mind blowing when you see a few double page spreads or giant creatures. Um, just thinking about all the crazy stuff that goes into this, and the things that like Sam or the other characters do will kind of blow your mind when you see, oh, I didn't know they were capable of doing that, because it's dealing with a lot of energy and how to suppress energy, and super cool. What's also great about this, only one cover. So just the A cover for that. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm missing out on a variant or a big incentive. It's just the one cover, $5.99. I believe it's at least double sized. It's a pretty thick book, all black and white, but I feel like that is to its advantage. Fantastic. Can't wait for the next one, but definitely check out Ghost Cage.
Yeah, the right people, the people who like the sort of Akira or I guess like Mega Man feel are really gonna like it. So if you go to a store where you're allowed to like open the book for a minute, just look at the art inside for like 1 second, and you're gonna know if it's for you or not.
I feel like this is one of the things, like when I talked about Echo Lands, where it's like, if I can just like put this in someone's hand,
Yeah.
they're gonna love it. They'll see it and immediately be drawn to how unique and how um, interesting this is visually. It's different than anything else on the stands right now.
Okay, so I read Wolverine Patch. That's right. We are returning to the old school world of Madripoor, back where Wolverine lived and called himself Patch, and he used to wear the white tuxedo top like James Bond and the eye patch. This is written by Larry Hama, so this is a 5-issue miniseries, and it is set back then. This isn't like he's returned and he's Patch again. This is like, remember back when Wolverine was Patch, which is one of my favorite time periods for Wolverine, because just a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
At the time, the X-Men had all been killed, but they were actually not dead. They were playing dead, and no one wanted Wolverine not to have a book. He was such a popular character. They started his book anyway, and instead he went by the name Patch. He was undercover. He was in Madripoor. He hangs out at a bar called the Old Princess, which he's at the Old Princess in this. He is a co-owner of the bar, so a little bit like Humphrey Bogart, a little bit Casablanca.
Yeah.
And he's co-owner with the lovely Tiger,
Mm-hmm.
if you know who that is. And he's got a friend. He's got a friend who's a like an air freight pilot, whose name is Archie Corrigan. So it's like somebody like really put Wolverine in sort of a classic movie, but also sort of James Bond
Yeah.
experience. It's really international in that way that things don't feel as much anymore.
Yeah.
Where anything could happen, and so what's going on in this is Patch is hired by the local prince of Madripoor because he says, hey, there's some weird stuff going on in the jungle I can't get to. Could you go see what it is? And you'll get a glimpse of a little bit of what it is with an opening page that Hama does. It just sort of sets up a sense of foreboding, but you don't really know what's happening. So of course, Patch, that's what I'm going to keep calling him, even though I want to call him Logan or Wolverine. Patch doesn't want to do it. All tough guys are like, I just want to sit at a bar and drink.
Yeah.
But the prince gives him good reason to. It's not a threat or anything. He actually does give him good reason to do this. So, of course, he's going to do this. It would be a boring comic if he just stayed at the bar. Probably. There might be a cool comic there, too. So, anyway, he goes into the jungles, and not on foot though. He goes by plane, and one of my favorite parts of this is how Wolverine ends up from the plane to the ground and why. It's great. Like when you get to that part, it's really funny and really cool. So this has a really old style to it. It's like I'm reading a 80s or 90s Wolverine book, which is perfect because that's going back to those days. It's a sort of book where Patch, he talks to himself a lot. Like characters don't do that anymore because it needs to translate better to other things. And if you saw it on TV, you'd go, this is kind of corny. but reading it, it's perfect. It's
Yeah.
just the way a comic should be, and it gets you more in their head. It lets them say more things when there's not another character to bounce off of. So he's going to investigate what's going on, and he runs into some trouble. In those of you who go to other sites, you may have heard there's a first appearance in this book. Well, we actually read the book, so I'm here to tell you there's actually two first appearances. There are these two characters named Gimel and Beth, and they seem to be a couple, and they are either mutants or, as Wolverine calls them, enhancements.
Mm.
He's like, I could tell by your powers, you're either mutants or enhancements. I was joking with Andy because I've read Wolverine stuff where he could smell a mutant.
Yeah.
But it's hard for writers to keep up with all these characters' powers and to what extent. So are these mutants? Are they just people who are enhanced? It's not revealed, but it is two first appearances. Now, I know this is a story set a while ago, so will we ever see them again? I don't know. But they seem very important for this story, and I have to tell you, they get into a scuffle with Patch, and they kind of kick his butt. I'm really shocked. He kind of gets beat down. You'll have to see how that all goes. But really, what this issue is, it gets the ball rolling. It reminds you of who was around in these days. It gets Wolverine on the path of this story, but where it's going, I'm not exactly sure yet. You don't get to see what really is going on in the jungle yet, but they've got 4 more issues to explain it. I liked it. It was a good time, good read, excellent art. Larry Hama, still great writer. So that is my review for Wolverine Patch issue 1. And here is the Jurgens variant with him looking so cool. But
and he
then
says, I don't know anything about this guy behind me.
I don't resemble him. I mean, it's a better disguise than Superman, I think. So there we have it.
I like that it feels like Larry Hama went to his file cabinet. It was like dusted off his old Wolverine notes. He's like, I still got some stuff in here I need to tell.
Yep.
So next up is a great one, and it's not a number 1. This is Deathstroke Inc. number 7. So we are getting really close to the Shadow War, but also Dark Crisis, and this leads into both of those. Now, what's so special about this issue? It is the origin story and kind of the reveal of who Respawn is, which is funny because Respawn hasn't been in this book. He's been in Robin.
Yeah.
But then we could tell when he was in Robin, it's like, this guy looks a lot like Deathstroke. Well, there's a reason for that, and that is explained in this when Rose and Respawn go to Deathstroke, and Rose's reason is, hey, I think we need to tell Deathstroke who you are, which is still not going to be easy. You do that to Deathstroke, and he's always on the guard, so he's got his own ideas, and I won't give away Respawn's origin or who he is or whatever, but let's say when he goes in there, Deathstroke already assumes he knows who Respawn is. He comes up and he says, I know what you're doing, take that off, Damien. So Deathstroke thinks that Respawn is Damien. This is not the case, as if you read Robin, you know that they're in the same place at the same time. They can't be the same. But this does go, he is unmasked, and this goes into a wild origin story that is kind of terrifying, sad, and very surprising with some of the revelations in it, because this will not only affect Deathstroke, but could affect the Bat family and kind of relationships there and things we thought we knew about certain characters. So I think this is going to be definitely one that Joshua Williamson is setting up to be a bigger character going forward. It feels like there is now a new pseudo family member in the Deathstroke Bat family that we could see for a long time to come. There's a lot of story to mine out of this, involving all the characters. So this was really, really cool. And like I said, it does actually lead into Shadow War, which you can imagine. Deathstroke is definitely... he explains a little bit of why he's putting together an army and why going after Ra's al Ghul is a thing that he needs to do, even though it's a little bit out of his character. And also, um, there is a epilogue with Lex Luthor actually that leads into Dark Crisis. So very big book, especially since Joshua Williamson writing it, and he's writing all of these other ones too. They're all very interconnected, but excellent issue. And now I'm more excited about Respawn than ever to see what he is going to kind of bring to the DC universe.
So for those of you wondering, Respawn's first appearance was in Robin #1.
Yeah.
That's also first appearance issue for Flatline, and it's funny because in the last issue of Robin, Respawn's in it with Rose, and Respawn takes off his mask,
Uh-huh.
but you only see him from behind, and you get Rose's expression. She's like, "Oh my goodness, we need to go talk Deathstroke right now," and they literally leave the comic, like they're not in the rest of the issue, so they left and went over
Yeah.
to that. That's funny.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's good to be reading both books, but if you're just reading Deathstroke, this is still going to be a exciting entry into that. We also have the variant for it with the Tau variant. And I can't give it away, but some dynamics change too. You know, you've got Rose, who's Deathstroke's daughter. But Deathstroke may decide he likes Respawn more, and there's only room for one at his side, so someone does go flying through a window. You'll have to see that. But great issue, highly recommended. I feel like a lot of news sites and stuff will be talking about that.
So I read Detective Comics issue 1058. So look at the writing here. It's very scrawled. I had to try really hard to read what this says. And I feel these covers have often gone a little further than the book does, meaning like more into the future. And that's what this cover does too, because this is the weird scrawlings of the Riddler. And the Riddler is not in this book. But this does set things up for the next arc, and it seems like the Riddler is going to be the main villain for the next arc. So yeah, I always start a book by looking at the cover and really taking it all in. I mean, honestly, the covers reveal a lot and say a lot and set the mood. And so I saw this one, I finally deciphered it, and I said, this is a riddle, sort of a very light riddle. But anyhow, so this is the last part of the weekly Arkham Tower series, which has been a great read. Just had a lot of really good parts, especially to me towards the middle. The middle had some really harrowing, cool parts with the Bat family having to deal with all the terrors of Arkham Tower. But all that is done now. Batman's back in town. The person who started the tower is dead. Last issue we saw Nakano's wife taking the mask. Pretty much the villains were pretty well defeated. So this issue, it's actually partly narrated by a reporter who is talking to Batman and Batwoman, trying to get the truth of what went down at the tower out. They're trying to really like go ahead, let's tell the story. Here's what happened, so that people know, what really went down. So one big question that gets answered that I will not tell you, I'll have to read this issue, is what is the fate of Arkham Tower? I mean, Gotham needed an Arkham. That's why after Joker War, they built the tower. And now they have this tower, but I mean, look what's happened with it. Can they possibly keep this place open at all? Can they do anything with it? You will find that out by the end of this book. So past that, it's a lot of sort of tying up loose ends. Batman's back in town. You find out the fate of all different characters, including Mayor Nakano's wife. And it's set up for the next arc, which I talked about with the cover. Now, there's also the secondary backup story. The House of Gotham has its finale in this. Matthew Rosenberg's been writing that, and I think that has been really, really good too. And the finale is awesome. In fact, I have to say, I think the finale to this is a little better than the last part of the Arkham Tower, only because the Arkham Tower was pretty much finished in the last issue. Yeah. This is just sort of post it. House of Gotham, it really is the end of it. It really is the kid that we've seen growing up who blames Batman, whose family was killed by the Joker. He's got the Joker now. He's lured Batman down to the sewers. He has a whole army of orphans. He's got Killer Croc on his side, and him and Batman really have it out. And it's not just a fist fight. It is a you ruined my life. He ruined my life, and it's great because Batman, of course, under that he's Bruce Wayne. He went through a lot of the same things, but he had money. So I really like what Rosenberg did. I really like the climax it comes to. So don't be surprised if, when you read this Detective Comics, if you actually prefer the second half of it.
Do we feel like any of those characters will continue in anything?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it could be. It would just be the boy who grew up. It would just be, he's kind of the forgotten one. He could go on to something else.
I feel like they've spent a lot of time telling this story about a no-name character.
Yeah.
So
it is true. So, of course, we have our Bermejo variant.
Took me a second to
the leathery lines of Batman's mask
to figure out what I was looking at.
And then there's a 1 in 25 Fornes variant we're selling to our customers for $20. But yeah, I believe now Detective is going back to monthly at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to take all the people working on it are going to take a nice vacation and then come back.
Much earned.
Okay, so next up is a book I was very excited to read. This is Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is wild and awesome. This is by Cullen Bunn. So you've got some A tier on this, and Freddie Williams III on this as well. So what is this about? How does this come about? Actually, I think it's Freddie Williams II. It's one of the Freddie Williamses. So in this, Tommy the Green Ranger is tracking Rita Repulsor to a forgotten kind of temple. So this throws us right in the middle of it, which I love. Like, if you're picking up a book, Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the last thing you want is a whole lot of setup. Like, you want to get right into. So he is tracking Rita Repulsor and Goldar and all of the bad guys to this thing where Rita, he's sneaking in. He hears Rita kind of wax poetically about she has found this stone that is going to transport her and her comrades to another reality where there's no Power Rangers and she can truly reign supreme over everything. Now, Tommy the Green Ranger is by himself. He calls for backup from the other Power Rangers, but will they get there in time? So when Tommy kind of makes himself known, they all get transported to another world. But of course, that other world is the reality where Godzilla and the rest of the kaiju exist. Now, Rita thinks this is great. She's like, oh, these are some giant monsters that I can mind control to be my servants. Like, of course, she has no lack of confidence going into this one. But also, the Green Ranger is transported there as well. Rita finds some potential teammates among the Godzilla world. And I will say that, yes, even in this first issue, you get Godzilla versus the Dragon Zord. I feel like, thank goodness I'm excited about the series now because it feels like we got into the big stuff right away. There's some awesome fight scenes in this, just some crazy kaiju versus Power Ranger action, and the coming issues kind of promise we're going to get some Megazord versus Godzilla, and not just Godzilla, there's some other classic Godzilla-verse kaiju in this as well. I am very excited to see what will be coming with that, but the art is great. There's some great scenes of just showing how massive these creatures are. Really fun. I think fans of both things will thoroughly enjoy this. We also have the EJ Sue variant. And the Dragon Zord, Godzilla puts it through its paces. It may not be able to stand up to that level. So, and then we have the Freddie Williams II 1 in 10 variant that we are selling for $25 to our customers.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say this was my favorite read of the week. It is We Have Demons, a new one from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And this time, they're doing it for Dark Horse. So this book, it took me maybe 3 times as long to read it as any of the others. It has a lot in the first issue. And it's not even that it's oversized. When you pick it up, it feels oversized. And that's because Scott Snyder included his script at the end. So you get a bunch of extra script pages, which, you know, by the time I was finished reading, it was really neat to see, you know, behind the curtain. So what is We Have Demons about? The story, while the main story is set in our time, and it follows a girl named Lamb, I'll tell you more about her in a minute. It's such a big tale that parts of it are told at like the early beginnings of the universe, and then the start of mankind at all. You know, we're talking like back in Neanderthal times. Scott Snyder is weaving a very, very large tale that has been going on for ages. It's not just, hey, it's 2022 and a demon comes up from hell. That's not what's going on. Stuff has been happening from day one. There have been forces at play that we don't know about that we get to learn through our main character, Lamb, who is also learning this stuff. So who is Lamb? She is the daughter of a minister. And she very much looks up to her father. He's this very just strong, charismatic, uh, good guy. He has very strong faith, very strong convictions, and he raises her that way. But at the same time, he has some secrets. She overhears some things. There's something. He goes on these trips, goes away, and eventually she confronts him about it, and it drives a wedge between them. And you know, she's like maybe between 16 and 18 when this happens, and I mean they almost never speak again. So I can't tell you a whole lot past that, but let's just say that what he's up to is a very big deal. And of course this is going to affect her, sort of a passing down the family lineage. Yes, there are special weapons. There are special good and evil things. And of course, there are demons. And the demons are not obvious. So, some really, really great storytelling. Like, no matter how much I tell you the premise of this, I don't do the storytelling at all justice, nor the art. It's great to see Greg Capullo doing demons where I'm looking at it and I'm like, am I reading Spawn? But there are all the things he was designing, cutting his teeth on, all the years of doing Spawn, but now he's doing his own stuff that's reminiscent of it, but you know, different. It's for, you know, this book now. So an excellent first issue. I just feel like Snyder put a lot of thought into this. It feels very fleshed out. Even in issue 1, it's like I immediately wanted to read issue number 2. If you're reading Nocterra, you're going to definitely want to check this one out. This is akin to it, but I would say more adult. There's more cursing. The cursing is mostly for effect or humor, though. It's not super overboard with it. But there's more dark humor, more dark cursing, and a little bit bloodier than Nocterra, I would say. And you know, if I had to compare the first issue of Nocterra and this one just has like more in it. It's a longer read. So this is my pick of the week very easily. So I mean, unless you don't like horror stuff or adult stuff, like if you're somebody you just like superheroes, you know, then it's probably not for you. But if you're into any of the things I've said, this is a good issue, and I think this may go somewhere. Like meaning this might be a book that a lot of people might start reading. So, okay, so we have a couple variants for it. Here is the foil variant. So it's the same cover, but can you see how the demons is in red foil? So we got a foil variant. Then we have a jock variant. And lastly, I really like what Peach Momoko does. Sort of her dark, scarier covers. And that's our main character right there, Lamb.
Cool. Well, now it's time to dive into the Star Wars for the week. Some really good issues. Nothing that is like crazy revolutionary with them, but I mean, they're always solid reads, starting with Darth Vader. This is number 21. And this is just continues the Vader's kind of rampage, finding all of the members of Crimson Dawn that have been hiding out in the Empire. But we learned in the previous issue that Ochi, kind of his right hand man, was also a member of Crimson Dawn. Well, Crimson Dawn is still a criminal organization. It's not like good guys or freedom fighters like the rebels. Even within Crimson Dawn, you have Sabe, the handmaiden, the former handmaiden of Padme, and she attempts to kill Ochi, even though they're both on the same side. She explains why, but you know you're still dealing with a criminal organization, so it's kind of fun to see that infighting. But uh, also, the ranks of Crimson Dawn change pretty heavily in this issue when someone forcefully takes up one of the Crimson Dawn badges and declares themselves a ruler of it. So, really cool issue there. A lot of action, a lot of traveling, going to different planets. Some really cool stuff going on in there. That is Darth Vader. Also want to talk about Dr. Aphra. This is Dr. Aphra number 19. And this one's cool. This is still part of Crimson Dawn, but not as heavily tied in. Aphra and Santa are trying to stop kind of an old frenemy, someone they went to school with who is obsessed with becoming a Sith, even though she doesn't have any powers or any force sensitivity. But there is an artifact called the Spark Eternal it's an ancient relic that can kind of simulate Sith dark side abilities that they are trying to stop her from getting. Really cool. And a classic bounty hunter that is not seen too often is hired to then hunt them in this. So Dr. Aphra this week was really great. And also wanted to mention that we have a second print of Halcyon Legacy number 1, which sold out. A lot of people after the fact ran to get this. So if you missed it, you can grab that. But a big thing this week is the variants for those books. So starting off, Darth Vader number 21, the Sprouse variant, is the first cover appearance of Moff Gideon and the Dark Troopers. So really cool there. Getting some of the Mandalorian characters. Vader also has this really nice 1 in 25 Yanko variant that we're selling to our customers for $20. And another big one is for Dr. Aphra, 19. This is the first cover appearance of Bo-Katan. We do know that we are getting a Mandalorian series from Marvel that is going to each issue is going to be an episode of The Mandalorian season 1, but these will be the first appearances of some of the key Mandalorian characters. And then we also have the Cummings variant for Dr. Aphra as well.
All right, so I read Venom Lethal Protector number 1. That's right, Lethal Protector is back. However, much like the Wolverine Patch story, this is set back in those days. So this is going to be a 5-issue miniseries. It's written by David Michelinie, who is the co-creator of Venom, along with Todd McFarlane. So they went to they went to the other co-creator, giving him a chance to tell some more stories about those early days of Eddie Brock and Venom, and that's exactly what this is about. Some of the best parts of this are Eddie Brock talking to the symbiote, who's not really talking to him yet.
Mm.
and he's trying to get it to talk to him. There's a part where he's trying to get the symbiote to just tell him anything about itself, and it's not really ready to, but at the same time, they have bonded very strongly over anger. And things just keep making them angry in this too, because he is the lethal protector. Like, it kind of gets said that, we're out here, Venom, to protect the innocent, and the only other thing is to kill Spider-Man. So
Got two jobs.
that's the only bad they want to do, and they think that's good too. But every time they show up, people are scared of him, and of course, other people are interested in symbiotes in general. In fact, this issue shows the return of a Spider-Man villain. He was a villain, but he also was a good guy at points. His name is Humbug, if you know who Humbug is. And so Humbug is back, and he is interested in this new symbiote thing. He thinks it's something that he can utilize. Humbug's always been a villain that he's not taken very seriously, but maybe he does have a power that could actually affect Venom in a profound way. You'll have to see what happens in this issue. And then, of course, there are other people who are upset with Venom stopping their crimes, and are also now interested in this new symbiote. So this issue kind of sets all that up. So 5-issue series, just going back to the early days of Eddie Brock Venom. Yeah, it fills in a lot of gaps. Like, you get to see when Eddie first learns that his wife Anne has a new fiance, and that doesn't go over very well. And you can see why Eddie and this symbiote really do kind of need each other. So we got a few variants here. This is the Mana variant. And then we have the Senkowitz. And lastly, here is the hilarious Nakayama 1 in 25 variant that we're selling to our customers for $35. Venom with a bib with a brain on it and little saliva marks around it. I think that's funny. This is refreshing because, in the regular Venom series, Dylan has more taken center stage, and Eddie, where he is now, is just so different. And he's definitely not with the Venom symbiote. So if you're missing that, if you're missing the classic Eddie and as Venom, this is the ticket.
So does it feel like how you said Patch felt like you were reading a book from then? Does this have the same feeling, like you're reading, back with the old Lethal Protector era?
I wouldn't say so, no. This feels updated to me. It feels like just more modern writing. It's set then, but I don't think that's what Michelini is going for with this.
Okay, so my next one is actually a DC Black Label book, a new one, which I didn't know. I saw the name Rogues. This is written by Joshua Williamson. You got a lot of him on the show today. You'll have some coming up too.
Yeah.
And the artist is Leo Max, who was the artist on Basket Full of Heads. And I didn't know going into this. I know about the Rogues. Of course, it's the Flash villains. But what this really is very interesting and really cool. This is one of my favorite Black Label books I've read. So this begins in your classic supervillain bar where all the supervillains get together and roughhouse and drink and curse their selective superheroes that they go up against. So we get a very human feeling group of villains, even though they range from gorillas to Killer Croc, all of that. But in the corner is the Rogues, and there's some discussions about different jobs and everything. But there's one that's brought up that you can tell kind of catches Captain Cold's attention, but clearly nothing was done about it. And then you turn the page, and it jumps 10 years in the future. This is where this book really is kind of like defining what it is. So it's 10 years in the future, and the Rogues have disbanded. They've all, you don't quite know yet where all of them are, but you're following Captain Cold, Leonard Snart, and he is being visited by a parole officer who is going to do some drug testing on him. Going to search his house to make sure he doesn't have any freeze weapons or anything. It's very interesting, but Leonard claims he's like, no, I'm through with that. That causes too much trouble. But he's definitely got a rough life. He didn't make off with the grand prize in crime or anything, and he works a pretty average job. It looks like he's just like building boxes. It's just a conveyor belt, and he's putting them together. He seems to enjoy his job for the most part, but this is definitely an older Captain Cold. He's kind of aged out of being able to go up against Flash or anything. But one day he gets a promotion. It's great. But he does realize that people are making fun of him. Some people say, "Oh, is this Mr. Freeze?" No, he was Captain Cold. Oh, that loser type thing. And this really gets to him until he decides, you know what? I'm gonna make my life better, and I'm gonna try to do that one big heist that I heard them talking about 10 years ago. This is the biggest thing ever. So this is, uh, I hesitate to call it like old man Captain Cold or old man Rogues or whatever, because I feel like that's doing kind of a disservice to the feeling of this. So he goes around to former Rogues members. Some of them are still alive, but some of them are not. They tell you which ones did not make it. And they're all kind of in the same situation he is. Some better than others, but you've got like Trickster. Well, now he's just at some hotel doing magic shows for senior citizens. Seems to like his job, but, and most of the people turn Captain Cold down. But he goes and finds his sister, who is Golden Glider, who's now working at an office job. You've got Bronze Tiger, who's out teaching self-defense classes in a park. But, Captain Cold appeals to all of them, and you can have a better life if we get these riches. But I think the strong part of this is it's less about the money and it's more about the respect. Each of the members of the Rogues have kind of lost the respect that they once had as being supervillains. So this is less of a job to get the money and more to make kind of themselves proud of what they do. But the big job that they're going after is going to have them breaking into Gorilla City. So, really fun, a great issue. The art in this is fantastic, especially the bar scenes, looking around, seeing all the characters that are in there, what they're doing. You get fun mashups of characters hanging out with each other that you don't normally see. Just them kind of buddying around. They're really excited when a fight breaks out. That's like, I didn't mention the guy who runs the bar is Condiment King. And he just really doesn't want a fight to break out because he's like, I just cleaned the blood off the bar stools. But when it breaks out, he's like, whatever. This is a really, really good book. I hope that people check it out. I know a lot of people are hesitant because of the size, the magazine size format. They don't have room for it, or they just don't like that size. But I feel like this story is worth people checking out and reading. I really liked it. Like I said, one of my favorite Black Label books. But really check it out. It's a standout book this week for sure. We also have the variant, the Leo Max variant, and you see kind of the older Captain Cold on there.
Okay, so also from DC, I read Trial of the Amazons Wonder Girl issue 1. So this is just a 2-issue mini-series that links in with all the Trial of the Amazon books. And I do believe this is going to connect with the next cover. That's why we only get half of Yara Flor on it. So this is done by Joelle Jones. And, I've read all of Wonder Girl. I've read all the Trial of the Amazon stuff. And I have to say, it was a surprise to everyone when Wonder Girl series by Joelle Jones got... it ended at issue 7. We thought it was going to go further. This issue fills in a lot of the gap from where that ends to where Wonder Girl and her tribe, the Escasitas, show up at the trial. Okay, there because there was a lot of gap. You know, they've already arrived, but this is in like Nubia's book and in Wonder Woman's book, that are focused on other characters, and you know, left me going, okay, well, I know why they're here, but I sure would like the story of how they hear about this and what did they have to go through to get to it.
Mhm.
That's what this is. I will also point out on the cover it says, what does it say? It says the contest begins. See that? That is not true. The contest does not begin in this issue. No, it doesn't. I wish it would. However, this was still a good issue, and this is an important issue because I've wondered about the Escasitas a little bit more, and that's what this fills in. Because you get a great double splash page with Wonder Girl. You get all the names of the other tribe members, and a really cool like picture of each one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. That's the first time I've seen that with the Escasitas. You also get a lot more of what happened from the end of Wonder Girl to this, which is Yara Flor getting trained by them. So we didn't really get to see a lot of that. Now we get to see, okay, she did get trained by them and she actually lived with them for a time before this happened. It wasn't just she ran into them, okay, let's go to the trial. There was some missing time that gets filled in here. Past that, we get Yara's thoughts on things that sets her up for how she's going to compete in this trial. The main thing with Yara is she does not like the gods, and that really sets her apart from, you know, Wonder Woman
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the other characters. They all grew up and they're all cool with the gods. Yara Flor is like, the gods are terrible. You know, they meddle in human affairs. They use their powers where they could be helping to cause problems. So I like that. I like knowing that she's going in this trial to completely shake things up. At the end, you do get a page where it again goes over, here are the choices for the trial. Now, that page would be awesome, except they already did it. And I can't remember what the last trial of the Amazons I read was, but I think it was like the last Wonder Woman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They had the same sort of, and you know, they're for this tribe and they're for that tribe. It's a good refresher, but I can't wait till they get into the trial now. Like everything is set, it has been set. I'm really happy they wrote this to fill in the parts of Joel Jones' story that I think got cut off a little
Yeah.
early. But yeah, let's get to that trial now. I'm looking forward to it. I know I saw the cover of an upcoming issue, and it's Yara Flor fighting Wonder Woman on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to that. Time to see it. So let's see. So there is a variant, but we are sold out of it. It's the one with Yara Flor. She's standing there, and there's like the horse's head
Yeah.
that's like right next to her, and it's very bright colored. And our store sold out of it. It's a nice variant cover though, so look for it in wherever you shop.
Yeah. And this is, you know, it's not like DC has given up on Yara Flor. She's going to be one of the main characters in Dark Crisis as the new Justice League
Right.
that has to step up and take control when the other one dies. So I think that's, yeah, exciting, and I'll be interested to see how long it is between the trial of the Amazons and then that. Has she kind of become more of a Wonder Woman by that point or whatever? But we're still seeing a lot of growth from her, and I think that's cool.
I know, and with them introducing all the Escasitas with the double splash page, I just think it's only a matter of time before we need a book on them. Who
Yeah.
are these characters? I mean, it's like 7, 8 new characters, and they have some great character designs to them. So
Cool. Okay, next up is our final part of the giant Wolverine saga. We've had this 10-issue run of X Deaths and X Lives. This is the final part. This is X Deaths of Wolverine number 5. This cover connects with the previous X Lives of Wolverine. And I will say this is where the two stories converge for the most part. The Wolverines converge. So, Omega Wolverine, who is this Wolverine sent from the future, but he's had this phalanx virus type thing on him, has come back, but Myra has negated his healing factor, so this phalanx has taken over, and now there's this kind of skeletal, scary Wolverine on a rampage, and it's up to the main Wolverine to stop him, along with the other Wolverine families like Dakin and X-23 and Scout and all of them. Um, this is a good final issue. So this series has mostly been about Myra and what's been going on with her, as well as Wolverine going through the past. It's funny because it feels like a lot of that is wrapped up in this, but it's not the whole story. So we get characters do go through a growth and a change in this, especially Myra. But this was more of a fun story looking at Wolverine through different times and everything, because it seems like there is going to be a follow-up something to this, maybe in the main Wolverine series, where a lot of the ramifications from this will play out. It's not all tied up in a bow in this issue for Wolverine or Myra. It looks like Myra has a big story coming up soon that I'm guessing will be kind of a capstone on everything that's been going on from the House and Powers.
All the Krakoa.
All the
stuff.
Krakoa, that has to be what this is, because let's say Myra kind of takes on her final form. That's going to be, I think, what she's maybe going to face off with the X-Men, or you'll have to see. But fun final issue. I liked both of these series a lot. I think they're going to read really fun in that collected edition they're doing. And if you're a big fan of Wolverine, this is great because it is just all Wolverine fighting and really cool stuff there. We've got some variants for it. I love this one. And through this entire thing, we've had these variant covers of Wolverines that do not appear in this series. This could be my favorite one. I don't know anything about why he looks the way he looks. But this is the Stegman variant with just the most, like, I don't know, 90s, early 2000s Wolverine suit you could come up with. His chrome pointy head. We have, I believe this is called the Omega Spoiler variant, but I'm not sure why, because we've seen the Omega Wolverine plenty in this series. We have our final piece of the Bagley trading card variants. You can finally put all those together. And then we have this 1 in 25 Gonzalez anime style variant that we're selling to our customers for $20.
Okay, so I read Iron Man issue number 18. I was really looking forward to this one because, for those of you who read last issue, Tony, he has pretty much the powers of a god, and his friends had gotten together with Doctor Doom to discuss how could they stop Tony because he was doing things that were, he thought they were good, but they were harming people. He made everyone in New York City genius level like him. So you had like genius criminals everywhere, but everybody, like your cab driver was a genius. Everyone was. His ego and the power was getting to him. And so at the end of last issue, Tony happened upon his friends having a meeting about this, got angry, lashed out at them with all this power, and he killed most of them. Hellcat was the sole survivor, and so this issue starts there. So at the end of last, I was like, where is this going to go? Now, I kind of suspected that if he has godlike power, he can probably also bring people back to life. I'm not going to tell you if that happens or not. I'm just telling you this is what I went in thinking. If he had really killed them permanent, we all would be reading about this on the news and such. But what this issue is, it is the second to last issue of this Korvac arc, which has been a crazy arc, crazy long. Tony going through all kinds of change and exploration to why he is how he is. So as the second to last issue, that's a lot of what this one is exploring. It's Hellcat and Tony getting away from what just happened together and discussing what has happened with him and who is Tony Stark. Why why was he ever Iron Man? And who is Hellcat? Why was she ever Hellcat? Their past, their family lives. Why are they both so drawn to being heroes when they're also kind of jerks to people around them a lot of times? So they go into this like, hardcore, sort of blaming each other, pointing out truths about each other, but also finding some truth themselves. Um, it's a lot about why do they want to be heroes, but why are they also self-loathing and hateful to people sometimes. So good issue, but it's definitely not an action-packed one. It is more of a, this big thing just happened. We have a lot to talk out and try to figure out. Now, what Tony did last issue, it does get resolved by the end of this issue. That's all I'll say on that. And now it's setting up for the final part of this Korvac arc, because Korvac is back. The last thing I can't reveal is, what will Tony do with all this power he has, considering what he just did? Will he get rid of it? Will he keep it? He's always said he can't get rid of it because of Korvac, but look what he just did. So that gets resolved by the end of this issue as well. So we've got a couple variants. Here is the Johnson variant. And here is the Lozano variant. But yeah, this is being written by Christopher Cantwell, and I have to say, it's like a couple shades deeper than a superhero book, than you would expect out of a superhero book.
That's cool. So, next up we have the final installment of Peach Momoko's Demon Days saga. This is Demon Days Blood Feud. #1, because all of these have been #1, so no, this is not a good jumping on point, I'd say. But yes, for everyone who is sad to see this saga come to a close, there is some good news. So, to begin with, it's a fun issue, especially when we see the face-off between our main hero and the demon-like Hulk creature that she fights. It does wrap up a lot of loose ends, but when you finish it, it does give you the final page that says that Peach Momoko's reimagining of the Marvel Universe will return this summer. So, I won't say what form that will take, because I feel like there's a little bit of a hint to what that's going to look like at the end of this issue. It does. It may take on a new form, not quite the feudal Japan historical. We'll see, but it does look like she's gonna try something different. So, final issue for now of Demon Days. There's our A cover, the Peach Momoko cover. We have the Girahiru variant. And then we have the Bjorn variant.
Okay, so I read Robin issue number 12. I think this is the last Joshua Williamson comic we're going to go over
I need
today.
to look and be like, is there any Joshua Williamson hiding anywhere?
Okay, so first off, look at the cover. That is not the Damian Wayne Robin that we know. So who is this Robin? So in this issue, all the tournament contenders are finally leaving Lazarus Island. And before they do, Damian has a final talk with Connor Hawke. And of course, they talk about what it was like growing up with their dads. So you get that conversation, which is good. But after that, Damian, he finds his way back to Gotham. He's back. And Gotham has changed, and he can tell. Last issue, we saw that he had a plan to take back some of the Lazarus resin and possibly bring Alfred back to life. I was very excited about this idea. I've missed Alfred in the Bat books. So in this issue, you're going to see what happens there. That's kind of, I think, the one of the biggest parts of this book is what happens. Does he do it? Does he not do it? And why? But this other Robin that we see on the cover, he appears at that point, and he's like a darker version. He's like everything Robin is said to be, all the negative parts of him, and they have it out both verbally and in a fight. I'm not saying this is a first appearance though, because I don't think this is a character that's going to return. It's more like a character of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Still a very cool part. A lot of things go down this issue. Then Talia's in this issue, Damien's mother, and they either are going to have to fight to the death, or they're going to have to try to actually be a family. And you'll see how that works out so far by the end of this issue. And the last thing that happens in this, or no, actually, there's two more things. Flatline. So, although all the tournament people have left, Flatline, she's with Mr. Deathman. So, I think they're in Gotham or nearby. Well, it might be that she went to Lazarus Island for a different reason than to win the tournament. And this reason, when you see it, could be the sort of thing that would really destroy her and Damien's relationship that they just built. So she's not out of this at all. I have a feeling that Williamson has a lot more plans for Flatline, which I'm glad. I think she's a really interesting character. And she's one of the few people who kind of knows Damien. He even loaned her his manga book. She's reading more on it in this issue. So, and that's a secret. No one's supposed to know that Damien reads manga. And so the last thing is, there's an epilogue that leads into Shadow War. That's pretty cool as well. So a lot going on in the latest issue of Robin. It did not disappoint. It's just one of those series I enjoy week after week after week. And here is the variant by Francis Manapul. Get to see all the tournament people.
The gang's all here.
Yep. They're all spread out though, because I mean, Rose and Respawn went over to Deathstroke Inc. book.
I like the idea that Flatline lives close. It's like you go to camp with somebody, you come back, and you're like, oh, you just live right down the road. We can hang out now. Yep. Okay, so my next one is Gunslinger Spawn number 6. So this is great. I feel like every issue of Gunslinger Spawn is my favorite issue. It just keeps getting better. And it is over the top. It's crazy. But Gunslinger Spawn's just like the epitome of cool. He's just like, he's got that attitude of like, I don't care and I'm always better than you. But I'm real humble about it till I've got to show it off. So in this, there's kind of this like super version of the clown, the classic Spawn villain clown. He's kind of from the Spawn multiverse, and he wants these portals that have been closed that allow all of like the supernatural beings to go between heaven, hell, and earth. Something happened in Spawn universe that closed those. He wants to open them back up so he can take the throne of hell away from Spawn, and he needs Gunslinger Spawn's help to do that. But how's he going to do this? He takes Gunslinger Spawn to Omega Island, which has been kind of an island that's been in this series, in the main Spawn series for a while, and gives him a really nice dinner, and they sit down to have a talk, and it's really a battle of the wits between Gunslinger Spawn and this clown, and really fun to see Gunslinger Spawn drink him under the table. And it was crazy in the last issue where it seemed like Gunslinger Spawn agreed to team up with Clown, but you have to see Gunslinger Spawn has his own plans in this, and it's he's a loner, so it's cool to see what his idea of this is going to be. So great issue of Gunslinger Spawn. There is a lot of action in this, and you really get to see the extent of his powers, because he has powers that regular Spawn doesn't. He has a form, like a mastery over, seems like some animal life. Like he's done it before with wolves, and he does it in this to something else that's pretty crazy. So really fun issue of Gunslinger Spawn.
And he's got a hat knife.
And he's got a hat knife that, I mean, what are you going to do about that? We also have the variant by Keen. He's always on this horse, but this horse has not made an appearance. He's just hoofing it on feet.
Okay, also out this week is Elektra, Black, White, and Blood, issue number 3. So this, of course, is told, it's anthology style. Each issue of the Black and White series, they do typically 3 stories. Um, and this one is the same. So these stories, the first one is about Elektra and a girl named Mary breaking out of an evil mental institution. That's the general story there. The art style, though, it is done in manga style, very manga oriented style for the first story. Pretty cool. Just seeing Elektra kick butt in that style that she fits into very, very
Yeah.
well. The next story is this really sort of stylized art story. It's not painted, but it has like that feel to it. You know, of course, you know, it's dumb to say it's in black, white, red, but I mean starkly done in that way. And it's about Elektra's complicated feelings towards Matt Murdock, and of course Daredevil, his alter ego. She has, you know, this is set like in the, this isn't like in modern times. This is like when she was originally around, and it's very love hate feelings she has towards him that are sort of poetically told through her thoughts. That's just what the story is. It doesn't even like exactly resolve. It's more like how would she feel about this person that she really likes and really hates, who criticizes her morality, who she disagrees with on how to deal with not just villains but how to live. So that story's neat. The art of it is really good too. And the final story, Elektra goes up against a young Natasha Romanoff who, as she's being trained in the Red Room. So Natasha's in the Red Room being trained, and Elektra attacks the Red Room, has to take her on, has to take on all the Red Room people. So I thought that was a really great crossover story. So those are the premises of the 3 stories you can read in Elektra, Black, White, and Blood number 3. Then we have this Mark Bagley variant for it.
Okay, next up, I have Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Now, this one I'm bringing up because of a very surprising ending to it that I did not see coming. So this is set in the past during Ben Reilly's stint as Spider-Man the first time, Clone Saga era, or a little post-Clone Saga era Spider-Man. And it's been fun. It brought in a lot of the villains from that time, like this version of Doc Ock and other ones. But there is a new character that appears in this. Someone who um, you would not expect, especially when you see how. I mean, it's a new character, but you're introduced to them first as their like normal selves and what that and their relationship with Ben Reilly, which is very interesting. Semi stalker of Ben Reilly, but kind of one of the people who's just like desperate to be friends with him, like always passes it or is conveniently crosses paths with him outside of his front door and says, "Oh, I'll walk with you" and stuff like that. But the truth about this character is something much greater, and a surprising, I'm guessing, first appearance of a potential villain. Uh, they don't claim that they're a villain, but it does seem like they're going to be a little bit of odds. But it is a, I'll say the character's name is Spider Side. So this is a spider character with much resemblance to Ben Reilly and Spider-Man. So
and the side is the CIDE, right? Like
yes,
insecticide,
right,
spidercide, or homicide.
yes.
Okay.
So take that for what it is. Very cool design for the character with some crazy abilities that you'll have to see. But I haven't seen anyone talking about this online. That this is the first appearance of Spider Side. And then we have, I don't have a variant for it, so it's just the only cover I got.
Okay, so I read Harley Quinn issue number 13. So right on the cover, the verdict is in. Guilty. So last issue we had our first cameo of a new villain named Verdict. This issue you get the Verdict's full first appearance. However, I will say she is in a mask the entire time. We don't get to see her face yet. So, but she is in it. She talks. In fact, she is wearing a Harley mask and dressed like classic Harley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like animated series, early Harley. And she's killing criminals in this suit and mask, getting caught on camera, making it look like Harley's doing it. Her other MO is she likes to scoop their eyes out with an ice cream scoop.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good to have a thing.
I guess so. Everyone needs a hobby. And so, first full appearance of the Verdict. Meanwhile, Harley, of course, in her own book, she is back in her Roller Girls outfit. And she's roller skating around and such. So I always like it when she returns to the roller skating stuff. So you'll see that on the variant I'm going to show in a minute from Derek Chu. So Harley's roller skating around, and of course the police, they don't know what's going on. They just know somebody looks like Harley's killing people. So they're going to try to arrest her. You'll have to read it to see what happens. But I will say there's no Arkham to take her to. So where would they take her? Let's just say it's a place as bad as Arkham. I won't say where, but it's a real tough place. It's more of a penitentiary. Penitentiary.
Penitentiary?
Yes, that. So it is more that, and that is setting up the next storyline, which also has to do with the Verdict, but it seems like that's where things are going starting next issue. So we have a variant. Here is the Derek Chu variant. See the roller girl outfit. And then we have the 1 in 25 Suyin variant for $30. And there's that classic Harley outfit. But I think this really is her. I
think that's her on that one. But
yeah, the hyena would not treat Verdict this nice.
Okay, next up, I'm going to go out of order a little bit to talk about Savage Spider-Man #2. So, of course, this is the follow-up to Non-Stop Spider-Man, but in this one, some craziness has happened, and now Spider-Man is more spider than man. Very creepy, very gross, very drooly. Going up against Baron Zemo, they both have their own kind of followers in this that they take on. And there is a potential winner in this that is surprising. Someone ends up being subdued and under the control of the other. The other thing I wanted to mention is the paper stock of this, so people are aware that that this is a known thing. So the paper stock of this issue in a few Marvel books, you can see how it sags a little bit. The cover and the interior pages are basically the same. It is a very floppy, thin paper stock. Now, we looked it up, and this is a known thing. It is not all Marvel books this week. You said one of yours was also like that.
Yeah, at least one.
They didn't necessarily say it was a mistake, but they said it was a thing the printer did. I'm guessing it probably will not be like this going forward, but you didn't get a messed up copy or anything. This is a known thing. We're here to inform.
Yes.
So when you pick it up, you feel it, and it feels a little bit like toilet paper. You know that we all know about this, and Marvel knows about this as well.
Yeah,
so.
Due to the supply chain disruptions, a lot of Marvel books are printed in Canada, where supply chain has been disrupted multiple times.
Yeah.
So Marvel doesn't have a dedicated printer. They source multiple ones. And somehow or another, this one printing company they've gotten lately has, I don't know if it's a mistake or it's a cost-cutting thing, but we are on retailer forums where all this gets discussed, and I do know, it's been confirmed that the people at Marvel, they know about the issue, and while they didn't say, okay, it's going to be fixed for sure, they said, we know about the issue, we've informed this printer, let's just hope it doesn't stay this way.
Yes. There's also a Ron Lim variant for this. It's really cool. it is also that same paper stock. So it's like a lot of the books, you can tell which ones are printed at that printer.
Yep. It's
But
not all the books, but it is all of certain books.
yes, but it won't hinder your reading at all. Maybe just be a little bit careful turning the pages. Don't do it. I know that's an exciting book, but don't just flip it because you can't wait to see the next page. You may rip something. So
yeah, to me, it feels exactly like an interior page.
Yeah.
I mean, which I was surprised to learn. I mean, they're not claiming it's a mistake because it seemed to me like just a complete mistake, but
yeah,
who knows? So I wanted to show also that Avengers number 53 is gone to second print this week. And so this, of course, was the first appearance of Red Panther, the new suit and moniker of Black Panther. And this is the first cover appearance. So, of course, he was this is an interior panel that they now have put on the cover. So those of you looking for all the first, here is Avengers 53, second print, first cover appearance of Red Panther.
Okay, and then we also have Saga. This is Saga issue 57.
Yep.
And I did read this one, or at least I skimmed it. Looks great. I'm excited to read it, but I'm going to have to sit down and really go through it. But really fun. Some flashbacks in it to the more classic look of the characters and what happened right after the end I'm about to say the previous series. The previous couple of issues ago, that was also 3 years ago. So there's a kind of a filling in the time gap, what happened after the events that were so big a few issues ago without still spoiling it. But it seems like a really fun issue. I can't wait to dive in more to it. Do you have anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay, and the last thing I've got to show off is one that I didn't get a chance to read, but that is Department of Truth number 17.
Oh, this is the moon landing one.
It's the moon landing one to an extent. It's a dialogue heavy issue, but I mean a lot of Department of Truth is. We see the moon landing, but like everything in Department of Truth, there's a catch to it. So you'll have to read it to find out. But the art in this one is done by Fornes, who did a couple of the variants today and everything. I believe was the artist on Rorschach with Tom King. So really great art in this issue. And
I'm hoping they have a Stanley Kubrick character in there because that's like one of the conspiracy theories that Kubrick filmed the whole thing. First appearance, Stanley Kubrick in a comic.
And then we have the Fornes variant. And that's all I got.
Okay, so that is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Comics from the Future, where we go over all the comics that are coming out today and tomorrow. We try to give you a little summary of what they're about. We try to tell you about the first appearances or the collectability of each one. So I hope we've done our job well and you are ready to go to your comic store with this knowledge so you can grab all the things that you really want and avoid the one or two you weren't sure about and now you know just aren't for you. We will be back Friday with Comics from the Future. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We are creeping towards that 1,500 subscriber mark. I'm going to have a personal party when that happens.
Personal party.
That's always been one of the goals since we started the show. I was like, I really would love it if we could hit 1,500.
Yeah.
That's just, that's a lot of subscribers for a channel that just sort of dedicates to just this and that's it.
Yes.
So. But anyway, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.